Okay, so all the forms are in. This project is this is a resale house. Built this floor plan before multiple times. Now, here in Texas, we generally do slab on grade. I do raised foundation, and the reason I do it is I sell these houses for around 200 grand, like 1,200 square foot, and then I got a 1,000 square foot model. It's like 160. Or yeah, about 165 actually. Anyway, yeah. So and then that includes a detached two-car garage. So in order to keep that price low, I do a raised foundation. So I'll build a or just in this case, the framers, because I'm not framing this one. I just don't have time. I didn't do the forms either. A lot of times I do the forms myself, or me and the wife, but I just don't have time right now. There's too much going on. Got a couple of these going at one time. I'm just going to focus on this one. Because they're all the same anyway. Anyway, and then we got our house to live in. We got that going on too. So yeah. So anyway, so I'll build a 1 foot pony wall on top of this, all the way around. One pony wall down the center, maybe about 16 inches high. 2x10 sit on top of the floor joist, and then we build up from there. So there's actually a crawl space underneath. And it's cheaper, even with the price of the lumber, and the framers charge a little more because they got to frame the floor. It still ends up cheaper because here, well, now this year, a slab foundation is about $11 a square foot. So that's labor, materials, everything. I can do this foundation, just talking about this only. That's not including the garage or anything, right? Because the garage would be a little less because it's not as thick and as involved as a post-tension slab foundation for a house, right? Because this is a thinner slab, it's just not as involved. So and then of course flat work is flat work. Flat work's about $5 a square foot here. Labor and materials. I get it done a little cheaper because I buy the materials and then I just pay for the labor. So for all this, including pouring the concrete, the labor I paid is $2,800. The materials were $2,800 for labor, and they'll pour the concrete and do all that. And then I have to rent a concrete buggy. That's a couple $100, but the guys, that includes them picking it up and then taking it back when they're done, because we can't back a truck in here. It's too soft and too risky. Anyway, and then materials here on all these materials here that you see is about $1,800. So you got $2,800. So you got what, $4,600, and then the cost of the concrete. So if I got, let's say, I think I figured there's about 22 yards at 160 a yard. You know, you're looking at under $4,000 for the concrete. So you're looking at, for all of this, that's the house slab and the sidewalks and the driveway and the garage. I'm going to be, what, $8-9 grand? I don't know, I didn't do the math. Just doing real quick math, right? I mean, anyway, so that's less. If I paid $11 a square foot for this, for a concrete slab, it's 1,200 square feet, because this is 30 feet wide and 40 feet long, right? That's 1,200 there, plus your porch is 6 by 16, you know, so that's another 100. So you'd be looking at 1,300 times $11, right? For example, right? That's not even including your sidewalks and all this over here, your driveway and garage is 20 by 20, two-car garage, 20 by 20. Driveway is 20 feet wide. I just keep it the same width to the streets, probably, I don't know, is it 25, 30 feet? Yeah, so you see the difference in price. Now I have to buy some extra wood. I mean, there's like 70 16-foot 2x10s. Let's say they're $20 a piece. I think they're less, but let's say they're 20, so that's $1,400. You got like 30 some sheets of 3/4 inch OSB. That's another, 30 sheets. That's another 1,000 something, you know. And then you got, I don't know, another 300-400 for the 2x4s to frame the little wall. And I put pressure treated plywood on the pony wall just because of termites and all. And plus it's too close to the ground. So you see the math there. See, even and then they charge a little more for labor, not that much more, just a little bit. It takes them a day to frame the floor, and then it saves them a little time once they're on top of the floor, versus building off of concrete. So they kind of credit me a little bit for that, I guess. So yeah, you see, so I'm several $1,000s ahead, probably $4,000 or $5,000 if I was to total up both, right? So that just helps on the profit margins on these small houses, and that's why I do a raised foundation. Nobody else is really doing it. Here, if you're born and raised here, all you know is slabs. And I lived in Oregon for a while, also lived in Wisconsin and California. California is all slabs. Oregon is raised foundation, basements, especially daylight basements if you're building on a hillside. I lived in the Portland area. And then Wisconsin, of course, it's all full basements. But anyway, so my mind thinks a little bit differently, because people see this, and when it's under construction, they're like, well, what kind of a foundation is that? They don't get it. For example, even real estate agents, they don't care. Once it's built, they're fine. Nobody's like, oh, I'm not going to buy that because, whatever, right? So anyway, so I saved some money, and I'm able to make more profit and sell these small houses with the tighter profit margins and make a decent profit on them. So it's just kind of my little thing that I figured out. This subdivision doesn't care. Now, some subdivisions, they want slab on grade. They're not going to let you do something like this. But here, they don't really care. They also don't care house size too much. I mean, most of the areas, the minimum is 1,200, and a lot of areas, or a number of areas in this subdivision. It's a huge subdivision. It's thousands of acres, and there's thousands of lots in here. It's an old subdivision, started in the 70s. It's kind of out far, so especially at that time, so it hasn't filled in yet. But you could build even 800 square feet. So, so it's unusual. So anyway, so basically what I do, getting into the foundation itself, is it's 2 by 8, 12 inches apart, set on top of the pad. I make sure when I bring the soil in, I had to bring in 15 loads of soil, $170 a load. That includes the soil, spreading it, and moving the organic stuff off the top, spreading the soil, compacting it, and so on and so forth. So 15 times $170 a yard, and that was my cost for this, right? And then I had to pay to take the trees out. So anyway, yeah, so and then I run 2 number 5 all the way around. So there's 2 number 5s, and they don't require any engineering in here, so this is just my own little foundation that I just made up myself. I mean, it's more than strong enough to hold up the weight. I mean, a house doesn't weigh that much. If you were to take and weigh an entire house, it doesn't weigh as much as you think it does. And it's spread out over a couple hundred lineal feet of foundation, so it works fine. So anyway, yeah, so 2 by 8, 2 by 8, and then 2 number 5s, and then I put them up on chairs. These are called chairs, these little plastic things, and that's it. And then the top of the form is the top of the foundation, so they'll just screed the top like that. Concrete will be the top, so these are perfectly level, so it just makes it easier to finish it. And then what I'll do is, on concrete day, I'll be here. I usually set the bolts for the guys, because I like to set them a certain way. I used to be a framer, so I know how they should be set and where they should be set. Concrete guys, they just stick them in anywhere. So anyway, yeah, so I'll set all the J-bolts in here, and then the house is framed, the pony welds are framed to the outside of this concrete form here, right? So your welds will come up off of here. I think they're a total of about 16 inches high, and then that's where you'll set your 2 by 10s on top. Anyway, yeah, that's the AC pad. I like to pour everything all at one time. I just like to get the whole thing done. It's just easier, instead of doing this and then doing the flat work and all that. I just get the whole thing done. So it's, this isn't a big job, so it's no problem to get it done in one day. Yeah, so that's it. I've got one down the center. Like I said, the house is 30 feet wide. This one's 40 feet long. The 1,000 square foot model is 35 feet long. It's actually 1,050 square feet, because it's 30 by 35. Same porch and everything. Everything else is the same. It's just shorter. And it's a little bit different floor plan. This is a 3-bedroom. The other one's a 2-bedroom. Anyway, yeah, so this will pick up all your floor joists. There'll be a pony wall here, and then, of course, all your floor joists will sit on top of this. So, and then sidewalk, number 3 rebar, 18 inches on center each way. I know it's a little tighter here, but basically 18 inches on center each way. Certainly 18 inches in the areas, in the big open areas, you know. Pretty standard here. I mean, some builders don't. They do 24 inches on center. Number 3 is cheap. I mean, it's like $4 a stick. So, and then in the garage, what I have them do is I have them thicken the edges, and then do a thickened, like a cross, right? So it's thickened, and then what's thickened, they lay number 5 rebar in the thickened area below the number 3 grid, right? So then you see you've got these numbers. They had some extra, so they threw 2 in there, but there's usually just 1 and 1 and 1 here. And they'll dig this down. You know, maybe the total from the top of the concrete to the bottom is, that's 10 or 12 inches. It just adds a little extra strength for the garage slab, because this is going to be a floating slab. So yeah, so that's, and then I did 2x6 around the edge, and that's just to bring it up a little bit. Even though the pad itself is up a little bit, I had them bring soil in to make it a little bit higher than the surrounding native soil, so I can get good pitch when it comes for final grading. And then, yeah, I had them leave that stump in because it's dead now. It's a dead pine tree. It's not going to grow. If they would have taken that stump out, it would have made this giant hole, probably 6-7 feet deep and big, which would have encroached here. That soil would never be compacted as well as this native soil is, right? So you'd actually end up making more of a future mess, being that it's so close to the garage, trying to fill that hole back in and getting soil compacted. So just leave the stump there. It's not going to hurt anything. It's not going to grow. It's just going to die. I'll cut it off lower with a chainsaw, and then it'll just rot away eventually. So that was my thoughts on that. Instead of making this gigantic hole where part of it would be underneath the garage slab and be less stable. Another thing we do here, pressure treated 1x4s. I don't know why they do that here. It's a Texas thing. So I don't know. They like 1x4s instead of trowel joints. I try to get guys to do trowel joints. They don't even have the equipment to do it. I mean, it's just like, they don't get it. So it's like, okay, everybody wants 1x4s in their slab. So, you know, just put 1x4s in there, I guess. Like I said, I don't like it, but, you know, it is what it is. So anyway, so that's kind of the job. Hopefully we're going to pour in a few days. Got to get concrete lined up, you know, before it starts raining and making a mess. We haven't had rain for over a week, so, and it's still rainy season, so. Anyway, yeah, that's kind of it. Plastic under the garage floor to keep moisture from coming up. You know, it's always a good idea. And I think that's about it. Yeah. All right, back to work.